I've, 33 female, been friends with Charlotte, 33 female, since we were little girls. Despite being close to her and her daughter, kindergartner, I don't really see her wife, Avery, 35, much. She doesn't get along with most of Charlotte's and my friends and is a private person, which is fine. Avery is a cardiologist. My mother-in-law's sister is sick, and I asked Charlotte if she could arrange an appointment for us with her wife. She called and said she'd arranged it. So I decided to accompany my mother-in-law and her sister to the office. It all went well, but I noticed Avery didn't have her wedding ring on. During the whole visit, she only mentioned Charlotte once I said something, and everyone addressed her as Doctor, while the other time she insisted on Mrs. It was weird to me because she only wore it when I saw her. Actually, the few times we were out, Avery always wore her ring and acted like it was very important to her. I don't know what was happening, but I thought I should mention this to Charlotte as a good friend. The next time I met up with her, I said I'd noticed that Avery wasn't wearing her wedding ring at her office. She laughed and asked me what I was getting at, and I said I just wanted to mention what I'd seen. I didn't mean anything. Charlotte said Avery is a very by-the-book person and never wears any jewellery in her office or at the hospital. I apologised and only said I thought it was weird that she didn't wear it and didn't mention anything about her wife despite knowing who I was. Charlotte told me she just explained that I needed to let it go. I let it go, but she's still clearly upset. My other friends told me I shouldn't have mentioned it and I should apologise to Charlotte. I still smell something fishy going on, but I don't know. Am I the idiot for telling my friend her wife's secret? You are the idiot. I don't like Avery, so I'm going to stir up some stuff. Many people in the medical field don't wear their wedding rings to work, and why would she bring up her wife at your mother-in-law's appointment? It's a cardiology appointment, not a social call. None of this is remotely weird except your behaviour in this situation. Agreed. Also, she wasn't even her mother-in-law, it was OP's mother-in-law's sister. Didn't know cardiology turned into a spectator sport. I can't imagine following my husband's mom and sister to a private medical appointment. Now that's fishy. OP is obviously looking for a particular stick to stir up some crap. No wonder Avery doesn't socialise with that group. During this time of respiratory events, RSV and the global issue, not to mention the common cold and flu, can you imagine how many times a day she washes her hands? Can you imagine how many times a day uses sanitizer? Oh, and don't forget latex gloves. Depending on the style of the ring, it's possible it could rip them. That stuff is absolutely horrible on jewellery. It's none of your business. Mind your own. I can't believe you double down on your behaviour and still think there's something fishy. Good grief. Get a grip. You were being a busybody and got rightly called out. She didn't mention her wife during the appointment because she's a professional at work. Similarly, she wasn't wearing her wedding ring because it could interfere with her work. You took that as a sign to insinuate to her wife that she's a cheater. You need to get some of your own business to mind. That fishy smell is your overactive imagination. It's rotting your brain. My female 26 sister, 29, has a pre-tween son, Eric. I don't visit often, we live away, but I see them and most of my family at birthdays and holidays. When I visit, I usually buy Eric a toy or some candy as he's my only nephew. To be honest, I like to spoil him and maybe I am a little bit to blame for what happened too. It was Eric's birthday this week. I visited them and I bought him a nice car toy. The car was quite big and had lights and stuff. When I got to the party, I wished him a happy birthday and handed him the gift. He opened it and he loved it. He said, "So far this is the best one." At the time I thought he was just excited, but with what happened later, I kind of get the idea it was more maliciously intended. An hour or so after the party started, when everyone had already arrived, Eric made an announcement to the table at which the adults were sitting. He said that I'd won and that I was now the person he loved the most because my gift was the one he liked the most. I thought it was sweet that he liked it. Then he told my mom that her gift sucked, she brought him a board game, so he didn't love her anymore. He also told one of his friends that next year he won't be invited because his gift was poor. He gifted him a set of dinosaur figures. I think this whole thing of ranking the gifts people gave was crappy. I expected my sister or her husband to say something, but they didn't. They just laughed. So I told Eric that he was not supposed to say that about his gifts. People get them what they can, and he should be grateful for it. He said that he doesn't understand why he must love people who don't buy him nice gifts. I genuinely can't believe my sister is teaching this BS to her son. His dad told him, "Yeah, they should give you all the best." So I then told him again that a person's worth is not about how expensive or big the gift they got him was, and that if he thought that way, then I would not continue buying him gifts. Eric started to cry, and my sister told me off because I made him cry, but most of my family and some of her in-laws were on my side and told them it was bad to teach their kids such a thing. Our mom was quite affected and I wanted to leave too, so we left after that. My sister texted me later to call me an idiot for leaving before the candles were blown out and for telling her child he won't get any more gifts from me. She said I shouldn't make empty threats to a child. I said that it was not empty and it was not a threat. It's a promise until they teach their kids some manners. Am I wrong for discussing this when my nephew was present? Am I being unreasonable to him since he's young? And would I be wrong in the future if I keep my promise and do not buy him a gift the next time we see each other? Not the idiot. What he did was incredibly rude and hurtful, especially when he said one of his friends wouldn't be invited again. I don't care if he's 8. The other kid was probably around the same age. I'm glad you're not enabling him. Please buy people gifts. I'm a gift giver, but it's one way of showing love and it's not a reason to be rude if the giver puts effort into it. I can't imagine parents not being terribly embarrassed their kid had said something like that, let alone agree and then double down. In this case, you didn't overstep. His parents clearly aren't teaching him any morals or manners. In fact, quite the opposite. They're raising him to be a monster. Keep your promise. If your nephew approaches you about it, talk with him calmly and explain why. It is possible you can be an influence for good in his life. If he changes his attitude, then resume buying him gifts. Everyone's the idiot here. Shaming a pre-tween in public? Not good. His brain isn't developed, he's young and naturally more selfish and clueless. His parents suck, however. But you are not the parent. You probably shouldn't have used that moment in front of everyone to tell a child you wouldn't buy him any more gifts. I would reconsider buying him gifts from now on too, but I wouldn't have announced it in that setting, but more privately. My former partner and I own property in Ireland. It's where his father is from and it ranks within our top 3 favourite places. It was his dad's engagement gift to us. He and I ended things based on circumstances outside of our control. Distance and timing aren't always kind, but we're still close friends, and we still co-own a vacation home in a foreign country. The one rule we made for the property was that new flames aren't allowed to be taken there. Both of us have always respected this, and it's not something that comes up much since most of the trips either of us takes there are family vacations where both of us are invited alongside siblings and parents, so it's not exactly being used for romantic getaways. I've been seeing my current girlfriend for 8 months now. I'll return to Ireland with my best friend, co-owner and his brothers this summer, and my girlfriend expressed interest in tagging along. She's never been to Ireland and wanted me to play tour guide. I told her that she was technically banned from the house we would all be staying in, but she was free to get a hotel if she wanted to join us. I thought it was all very light-hearted. She's heard me talking about the trip for a few weeks now. However, she'd only just begun expressing interest in attending, so I didn't think she was serious. It's turned into a big fight between us where I'm being called an idiot for even considering going someplace that she's banned. Am I the idiot? OMG. There are a million other ways you could have handled this. You are the idiot. It seems like a situations change kind of thing to me. Yeah, don't bring whomever you're dating at the time, but if you're serious about someone, engaged or married, is the rule still going to hold fast? You've been dating your current girlfriend for 8 months. That seems like you're probably interested in something serious. Then again, if an existing agreement over co-owned property causes your girlfriend to have a huge blow-up, that might not be a relationship that's going to work out in the long term. And am I reading this right that the ex will be on this vacation? Screw that. Yeah, if my partner had a best friend who was also an ex that was banning me from their vacation home, I'd break that stuff off faster than a Kit Kat. OP is currently dating 2 people and needs to sort their damn crap out. No kidding. And the reason given they broke up was for things out of their control. This suggests to me that they'd still be together if it was up to OP. This has so many red flags for the new flame. I sincerely hope she recognises this and runs away fast and far. OP, you're either broken up or not. Regardless of reality, partners will reasonably see this as a sign you're not ready to have someone new in your life. I get that it was an engagement gift from the ex's father. Still, once they called off the engagement, the property should have been returned to the father or left with the ex, regardless of why they broke up. OP really has no skin in the property, as it belongs by all rights to the ex. What happens when the ex gets married and/or has children? Are they not allowed to visit the property? The longer this lasts, the more heartache it's going to cause. My husband and I have 2 boys. I have a cat, 6, and he has a dog, 2. I've never been a dog person. I knew I had to overcome my trauma eventually, so after months of harping on me about getting a dog, I allowed it, but it wasn't without protest. I adore some dogs, like my mom's girl, who's hands down probably the best dog on this planet, but in most cases, I truly just don't like them, and it's not the dog's fault, but the owner's lack of training. So when I finally caved and let him get a dog, I clarified that he was to train the dog and that I would not be responsible. He got the dog, she's a healer, 2 years ago, and she's a terror. 100% my husband's doing. It's not even her fault. So she still gets in the garbage, still has accidents inside. Her anxiety is to the point of her whining non-stop and constantly underfoot. She barks and whines whenever she's in the vehicle, and he insists on bringing her everywhere. She's reactive. She's food-driven to the point of excessively sniffing the floor for hours on end and never stops until she tires herself out. She stares at you, whining whenever you have food. I was just able to get her to stop nipping faces, her idea of playing and showing affection, if you go, based on what my husband claims. He is the problem, but it has admittedly made me feel like I'm held captive in my home. My kids also don't want this dog and never have, but again, it's because of my husband. Well, we found a rent-to-own that my husband desperately wants. He fell madly in love with it. We've been searching for a while, but they've clarified that only one pet is allowed. My immediate reaction was, well, this won't work, whereas his reaction was, who can we get to take the cat? I told him I wasn't willing to get rid of my cat so he could keep his untrained dog that no one wanted but him. He thinks I'm an idiot because I don't have the same bond with the cat that he does with the dog. I can see his point, as he has an unhealthy obsession with his dog, and she is the exact same way as him, but I still won't do it. He says this may be the only chance we have for a while to get into a home, which also could be true, but I still stood firm. He won't speak to me and has been snuggling his dog non-stop for 4 days straight. Am I the idiot? Edit, I've talked until I'm blue in the face about getting her into training, especially due to her being reactive and resource guarding. He outright refuses. He says paying someone that much money is a waste of money when we could just do it ourselves. He won't get her medicated for her anxiety outside of THC chews, which simply do not work. Girl, rehome your husband. You didn't ask him to get rid of his dog. He didn't even ask. He assumed you would get rid of your cat. Add the fact that he's an irresponsible dog owner and a selfish man who doesn't care how much his dog annoys his wife and children, who must share a house with them, and how the dog herself isn't happy because he isn't providing her with a healthy bond and home life. He's the idiot for sure. This is the answer. The husband doesn't respect OP, and he certainly doesn't care about the children if he's keeping a dog that nips at their faces in the house. He even goes as far as to intentionally undo the OP's training. So he's weaponizing the dog against OP, and that is unacceptable, and that dog needs a better owner who's going to train it. But really, people on this sub constantly complain that people here are always so quick to say, throw the whole man away. But so many of the men these stories are about appear to have no redeeming factors. It makes me feel like every other OP needs to acquire 3 things: a spine, some higher standards, and a good divorce attorney. I, 23 female, come from a family of 3 kids, 30 male, 20 female. Despite being in the same city, I rarely see my siblings or parents because they've always ignored my existence during everything. I've been self-sufficient and academically successful, so they justify they have nothing to worry about when it comes to me. My younger sister, Mary, had twins a few months ago. Her boyfriend didn't want to be involved in the whole process, so it's safe to say she's a single mom. My parents have been helping her raise her kids as they always have. They always supported every decision she made, including not going to college, dating whoever she wanted, and having kids. I'm quite busy with work, school, and everything that comes with it. My mother called and asked me if I could watch the kids for a few hours on the weekend so that they could take a breath. I said no because I was busy. I had a date planned. I've been dating my girlfriend, 29, for a few months, but no one in the family knows or cares that I'm dating or that I'm into women. My brother has work in his own family with 3 kids, so he's busy, as my mom said. I said I was sorry and I couldn't help out. My mother told me I was incredibly selfish to not care at all about my niece and nephew, only care about myself and ignore my family. I simply said it was ironic given that I was constantly ignored in the family, and I hung up the phone and didn't pick it up afterward. Should I have helped her out? Not the idiot, that was pure manipulation. Your sister being a single mother is difficult, but this was not your decision. Not your monkeys, not your circus. They are not your children, so they're not your responsibility. You don't need to rearrange your life because she wants to have a child. Oh, the tangle webs families weave. You, my friend, are not the idiot in this situation. Your family seems to have a history of neglecting your needs and emotions. Now they expect you to drop everything for them. No way! It's essential to prioritize your life, especially when you have work, school, and a blossoming relationship. It's not your responsibility to fill in the gaps for your family when they have yet to bother to do the same for you. Your mom calling you selfish is a bit of a pot meet kettle situation, considering their history of ignoring you. So keep living your life, enjoy that date, and don't feel guilty about setting boundaries with your family. You deserve to be happy too. Yeah, people who have kids trying to shame people who don't into helping care for the kids they chose to have are simply the worst. Considering you're being ignored, they have no clue what's going on in your life, and when they do acknowledge you, it's for you to do something for them. You don't owe them anything. If you had done this for them and later needed a similar favour, I have a feeling they would not be the ones to help you. I'm sorry you're dealing with this. You are not selfish for saying no.